know a little bit about my I would like to just let you know a little bit about who we are here at NAMI South Dakota. I'm Marilyn Charging, and I am the Education Outreach Specialist for NAMI South Dakota. And what we're doing today is a presentation that focuses on compassion. And so I'm going to let my colleague introduce herself, and then we'll start it.
I'm Kathy Simons, and I'm in Rapid City. I run the Rapid City affiliated office for NAMI South Dakota. We are partners with One Heart, so I've got an office location down on the One Heart campus. So I am local, and we'll be providing my contact information later. I believe that I provided my business cards and some information on NAMI's services to you all. So always available for future wellness activities or things of that nature that you might want to partake in.
Okay, just before we begin, I'd just like to let you know that NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are one of the oldest nonprofit organizations in the United States that provides education, support, and advocacy for people living with mental illness and their family members or loved ones. So when we speak with you, we're heavily involved in the work that NAMI does at a national, state, and local level. So we're really excited to do this presentation. And with that, I'm going to introduce she can't connect with us audio-wise, but our producer is Mallory Klochek today, and she is going to do our slide presentation advancements. So thanks, Mallory, for that. And we're going to get started. If you would please share the screen with the audience. So today, as I mentioned, we're doing Renewing Our Compassion, and this is a presentation that we've incorporated with our Mental Health 101, and we share this presentation out with businesses and different groups and all kinds of organizations and agencies. So our presentation today is going to really focus on compassion in the workplace. And Mallory is going to advance our slides. Thank you, Mallory. So let's take a temperature room. Here at NAMI, oftentimes what we do are like 1 to 2 minute check-ins when we do our support groups, but even in our staff meetings, we do what we call a one-word check-in. And so Rebecca, you're gonna have to help us with this because we know that the probably the microphone isn't as working as well, and so you can repeat back the answers, but I'll start off by modeling this. So my one-word check-in as far as how I'm feeling right now today, you know, at the moment is I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic about the presentation. I'm also optimistic about the, I guess the idea of being able to work with Monument Health to share new knowledge. And Kathy, do you want to check in?
Sure. So today, my one-word check-in is going to be opportunity. Just grateful for the opportunity to be with you all today, to share our knowledge and to have a good discussion about compassion.
Rebecca, we'll have you kind of go around the room with each person. I do want to let you know, we really do focus on kind of the here and now. So if somebody's tired or they're angry or they're upset or maybe they want to pass, that's fine. So we'll start with you, Rebecca, and we'll just go around the room and you can repeat some of the responses back to us.
Okay, well, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say and what you have to discuss. I'm excited about the relationship we'll have with you guys in the future as well. And we'll go over here to Musa. Could you hear that at all?
No.
Okay. That was Musa. She said she's excited as well, and to learn more about compassion.
Okay.
Okay, keep going around the room and just repeat back to us so we can hear it, write it down and hear it.
Okay. So busy but excited. Hopeful for any new information and resources you guys can provide.
Great.
Thankful for the weather and the pizza. Engaged and excited about learning new opportunities.
Great.
No. Refreshed to see her old friend Nami back again. Grateful for the great food and to learn. Dedicated, that's to learning something new. Okay. Refreshed.
Okay. Did we get through everyone's check-in?
We have 2 people left. So that was Caitlin. She said she's feeling engaged. And then we just have 1 more person, Leah. Said optimistic about where this partnership will take us.
Great.
And that's it.
Cool. Okay, Mallory, let's move on. Well, there was kind of a lot of different emotions, and most of them here were really, really pretty positive, and that's good. You see those little emojis on the side there? On any given day, some of us might not feel too excited or too grateful or even too dedicated, but today we are, and that's a good thing. I know a month ago, I lost a good friend, and so I was sad. So that was something that I had to work through, and that impacted my work. Other times I'm happy. Sometimes I just try to get a sense of, don't necessarily know, the word might be anxious. I will disclose with a group that I live with generalized anxiety and a co-occurring disorder, and I've been in recovery for drug and alcohol for addiction for about 39 years, going on 39 years. So I'll share that with the group. So I really do have to take a good gauge of my emotions every day. And that really helps me because our emotions really impact what goes on in the workplace. They certainly impact us as far as what goes on at home, but we're going to kind of focus on the workplace today. And so it really can tap into our level of resiliency because we're all in a profession, and especially all of you out there at Monument Health, where you have to have some pretty high levels of resiliency because you're dealing with some really tough issues, some very, certainly some huge challenges. And with that comes your ability to cope with whatever might be, you might need to address on any given day. Our emotions also impact us physically. We can get tired. I know that sometimes if we get physically tired and our emotions kind of drain us, even being able to do some things that we normally would want to do, like going out for a walk or even running or something like that, can be impacted. And certainly our mental health. What we're focusing on today, as I said, is the compassion in the workplace and renewing that compassion. And so our emotions most certainly are going to impact us in that area. So Kathy, do you want to forward?
Sure. So I think we all know generally what compassion is. It's an innate human quality that we were born with, the tendency to be generous and kind. Just like when we see little kids, they're so generous and kind when they want to play with their toys or share with whatever makes them happy. But everyday work demands and life experiences can stand in the way of our generosity sometimes. So that's another reason why we're here today, to just kind of renew that compassion and what that looks like. Showing compassion is showing sensitivity in order to understand another person's suffering, combined with the willingness to help and promote the well-being of that person. So that's just a general description of what compassion is. And why should we care about compassion in the workplace? You know, Marilyn talked about how our emotions can affect us in many different ways. And when we have mental health conditions pop up, such as PTSD or depression, anxiety, they can show up in a workplace and have a direct impact on our level of compassion. We've seen a decrease in work performance and productivity because of this. That's created a $200 billion loss nationwide. Our frontline workers report shame and stigma associated with a personal mental health condition prevents them from receiving treatment. And that's nothing unusual. I think we see that with a lot of the folks that you care for that are experiencing some mental health symptoms. That shame and stigma are tough to get past when it's time to seek treatment. And mental health conditions can cause more days of work loss than the impairment of a physical ailment, such as arthritis or back pain. This can all lead to what we call the ripple effect. I'll have Marilyn talk about the ripple effect.
The ripple effect, is, as you all know, is just really that impact that our mental health has on our physical health, our ability to learn. Sometimes we can't focus because we're stressed out or there's things that are really bothering us. It also impacts our relationships, not only with one another in the workplace, but our families, the people that maybe we go to church with, our community. Maybe we have some interest groups, like I just use an example of bowling, or maybe you're in a yoga class or something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I just don't feel like going. So all of that. And attendance, as Kathy said, at work is another one. But it also can really wreak havoc on what we call the long-term successes that we want to experience in our lives, because we all want to be happy, we want to have positive mental health. But as we get into what we call, and we're going to talk about here in a bit, compassion fatigue, it all has an impact in every aspect of our life.
So those impacts of not addressing our own mental health can lead to problems in the workplace. If we have sleep problems because we're not getting good sleep, and we know that that's a very common problem with symptoms that occur, it can produce lower quality work and lateness to work. If we have a lack of concentration because our thoughts are somewhere else, that could lead to more accidents on the job. Or we might have slow thinking that could create trouble making decisions. Maybe we're experiencing some forgetfulness that can lead to poor quality work. Or if we have irritability, just because we're not doing well and mentally we're struggling, that can lead to poor relationships with our coworkers and our clients. So now we want to talk about compassion fatigue, because that can be another problem that arises when we are not addressing our own mental health. And what is compassion fatigue?
So a lot of professionals and the journals and the research are showing that many of the professionals like yourself, they do experience who have a prolonged experience to other people's trauma, can experience what they call secondary trauma, and that's what we call compassion fatigue. And it impacts our mental and physical health, and it sometimes alters our level of caring and giving. It can sap our ability to cope, and it may lead to mental and physical exhaustion. And compassion fatigue can affect most dedicated workers. It isn't somebody that, all of a sudden they just have it. It's sort of a prolonged exposure is what it is. I can really relate to this particular aspect. I'm a retired school administrator and worked for 34 years in school administration and teaching and education. And so there were days that I dealt with some pretty stressful situations with families. And toward the end there, I sort of started really feeling that. And I think some of it too came with age and just lots of different stressors in the workplace. So it wasn't for my lack of trying, but it actually start manifesting itself in poor physical health in my case, and obviously some stress and anxiety. So we're going to go on to the next slide. So at NAMI, we aim for what we call better coping strategies. And we do this in a number of different ways. So I'm going to share some of the things that we do at NAMI and hope you kind of get a sense of what our organization is about and how we support peers and how we support one another. And the first one is self-monitoring. We ask people to pay attention to yourself. What's going on with you? We do check-ins, we check on people, we might call them, especially during the pandemic. We do support groups, we do lots of different things, but there's ways that we teach people to self-monitor and pay attention to what's going on with themselves and how they are feeling. Especially those who are caretakers or caregivers of people who are living with mental illness. Oftentimes their needs are overlooked. The second one is self-disclosure. And sometimes people have a little bit of problem with this, but what we do at NAMI is we help people to figure out ways to just kind of delve into what's going on with them. And we do this through journaling. We do a number of wellness classes and activities where we teach people how to journal and different ways of journaling to get a kind of handle on what's going on with themselves at work, at home. Conversations with trusted friends. And once we kind of build up that trust and we figure out who can help us and support us, we might say, hey, I need to go have coffee and just have, sit down and just talk about some things. Therapy, counseling, these are things we don't do, but we certainly recommend, and we actually try to use what we call in our groups. We use group wisdom, and many people will share that, therapy and counseling, those kinds of things don't have to be ongoing. Maybe I just need to do a check-in, and what we call like a tune-up. A lot of people call them tune-ups. And of course, our support groups. We have support groups for our people living with a mental health condition, and then for their family members as well. The third one is self-belief. We believe at NAMI that you can feel better and that you will get better. If you're dealing with a mental health crisis or a mental health condition, or your loved one is, we really stress that. And the fourth one, which is huge for all of us, is self-care. That is tending to your most basic needs and wants. I heard somebody earlier said, I'm thankful for, this refresher, and I'm also thankful for seeing our friend Nami back, and I'm thankful for the pizza. So, basic needs are something as simple as, hey, I woke up and I know I just didn't drink enough water today. I'm dehydrated, I can feel it. Or I'm feeling really hungry. I skipped that meal that I really needed this morning, and I should have taken, something with my meds, high blood pressure meds or whatever they might be. So these are all things we just teach people about. We do them through classes like our NAMI Basics class, and for people that have children or adolescents that need guidance and help in terms of figuring out how to just engage with all the different institutions that they're going to have to deal with, whether it be the medical, law enforcement, school, or the three main ones. And then for the adults, the families and caregivers and loved ones who have adult children, we have a family-to-family class. We're just finishing up our last class next week. So we're really excited to be able to offer those but those types of classes really teach us about self-care and what we need to do. So we're going to share, and I'll share one, but I'll let Kathy start. We're going to share one positive coping strategy that helps us get through our day. I'll go first, Kathy, and then you can take it from there. Mine is like days if I feel like kind of overwhelmed and I've got a lot of stuff going on, I've got family members that are calling. I tend to be the one in the family who gets all the calls because I'm the oldest adult child out of 8 siblings. And for whatever reason, I get those calls and I do a lot of listening, but it does wear on me. And so I have to figure out ways to cope. And one of the things I do is I like to sew. I use sewing as my therapy, and I do a lot of quilts and things that I can, give away and help people to feel better. And it does make me feel better. Kathy, do you want to share your coping strategy?
Yeah, sure. Our stories are similar, Marilyn, because I'm one of 8 as well. And I tend to be that one that everybody goes to for, the counseling advice, if you will. I'm the one who listens and just tries to help them look, through a clearer lens. So my favorite coping strategy is just exercise. Just moving my body just clears my mind and makes me feel better. I like to do yoga and I love to walk. I've got 2 big dogs and they keep me moving quite frequently. So Rebecca, could we go around the room and have everybody share a positive coping strategy that they might use when they're feeling stressed?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start. Actually, I hike a lot. That's my main thing. I try to hike about 3 times a week. You move in, like you said, that exercise is really helpful, and being in nature too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Musa said CrossFit and playing a lot with her kids.
Yeah,
Cool.
Carly? Music.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Holly says her dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Running. Says running.
Cool.
David says running. Nice. Good. Julia says getting her nails done.
Yay, Julia.
Prayer. Christy says prayer. And Brad? Nice. Brad says working in his backyard and spending time with by his pond.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one. Katie says her hot tub. Spending time in the hot tub.
Oh, I like that one.
Oh, nice. Brianna says making a list. Caitlin?
Good.
Go outside. Caitlin says going outside, and then we have one more, Malia. Oh, volleyball. And that's
All right.
everyone.
Great.
Cool. Those are all really great positive coping strategies, and it's good we have them. Sometimes we get into routines and we feel out of place if we don't do them. I know, especially like people who do a lot of walking and running and hiking. It's like, I've got to do it. And that type of activity really increases our endorphins and gets us going and keeps that positive energy up. So all of those things are all great self-care things. So Kathy's going to share a little bit here about responding or cultivating compassion with our peers, with one another.
Yeah, so it's when we talk about compassion, there's so many different ways that we can be compassionate, first with ourselves, but and with those that we are serving. But it's also so important to cultivate that with your peer network. Responding compassionately not only improves performance, but it also creates an atmosphere for us that's safe for learning, collaboration, and innovation. So we've identified 5 aspects to being compassionately responsive to one another. First, it's noticing the clues that someone is hurting. Just like with those that we are serving, if we see things that just are not right, someone's just not at the level that they usually are, maybe they're a little sad, maybe they're struggling with something, it's good to reach out privately as a friend and just have that conversation and just let them know that you're there to care about them and want to listen, want to be able to help. Just listening to somebody and letting somebody talk out their emotions and their struggles, it can be really helpful. Also, considering someone's emotional pain to be real and worthy is important. Not judging anybody, just like we don't judge our clients that we work with. We don't want to judge each other's level of pain. And building peer relationships that encourage empathetic responses. So having those strong relationships allows us to get closer to somebody, to understand their story so that we can be more empathetic whenever they are struggling or need some help to just talk things out or an opportunity to relax. And taking compassionate action when someone asks for help. So it's taking that compassion and putting it at the forefront of what we're doing to help somebody. Mallory?
I'm just going to share kind of a way that we helped a young man that actually, this is not him, but we're going to share his story, and this is not his real name. And I was facilitating a support group a couple weeks ago. This young man lives in Rapid City. He's been there a while. He recently was diagnosed with schizophrenia, some other socialized anxiety, I believe. But he was sharing with the group some really some serious challenges that he was having. And on top of trying to figure out what to do about the, how to deal with the diagnosis and really understanding it, he told the group a couple of weeks ago that he was very nauseous and he ended up having to go to the ER. And he didn't have COVID. He said he just was really sick. And so our group, using our group wisdom, tried to kind of help him figure out what was going on with him. We used all of our knowledge and compassion, and we asked some really good questions. And one of the questions is, well, are you eating food with your medication? He said, well, I'm on 2 different types of meds, one in the morning, one in the evening, and they changed meds on me, and I only have enough money for 1 meal a day. So he wasn't taking any food with his meds. So we were able to help him, support him, and get him hooked up with a food bank and with some other resources in the community. So he felt comfortable enough going out, I think, and getting the food, but he was a little bit leery because he just is not one, even as young as he is, didn't want to ask for help. And so that kind of gives you an example of how our support groups work. And we do virtual support groups. So we were able to help Trevor through that period of time. And he comes back each week and we follow up and try to support him any way we can. And so we're glad Kathy's there too, because she can check in on him as well if he needs extra support. And that's just an example of some of the work that we do to create peer support for our people who are living with mental illness, especially if they're new to communities. And a lot of people are just finding us online, and they are really reaching out, and they're pretty desperate for help. And so Kathy, we're going to go to the next one.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a little family perspective from you. My oldest son is 33, and 11 years ago, he was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. So from a family's perspective, just coming into behavioral health unit and getting services at the hospital, not only was it difficult for him with the symptoms he was experiencing to try to understand what was happening, it was a pretty scary time for us because his manic episodes were pretty psychotic. And so we couldn't have that conversation. We couldn't rationalize with him what was happening and try to figure out what to do next. And once he was admitted, he was there for about a week, and it was several days before we could come in and visit because they just needed to get him stabilized and get him on some medication and do some talk therapy to try and figure out exactly where he was and how to diagnose him. And when we came in, and we did get him to sign a release form, and so we were able to visit with the doctors and the case manager. But just to try to give you a feel from a family's perspective, which I'm sure some of you have dealt with before, it's such a scary time, and just having compassion for that family and having some patience. There's a lot of questions that we tend to ask, questions that might seem pretty minor, but like when someone's got a physical illness, we're just trying to find solutions. We're just trying to understand, what are those next steps? How are we supposed to communicate? How are we supposed to support? And what's out there to help us? And so fortunately, on that first visit, we were told about NAMI, and we took that first NAMI to NAMI class and for the families. And that's how I got involved and started volunteering with NAMI to continue my own education so that we could continue to support our son, as well as educate the family as to how they could back us up, and then turn around and help others. There's so many people out there that are just so lost. Once they might receive treatment, they don't know what that next step is. Finding that right psychologist that you can talk with, and finding that right medication, and finding those positive coping skills to try and counteract with the different effects that the medication has on you, because it's just a whole different way of thinking. It's a whole different way of feeling once you're going through those changes of a mental health condition. But it's just as challenging for the family to try and get their own support, and certainly to take care of themselves.
I was just going to mention, if you look at this picture, can you go back one, Mallory, please? If you look at this picture, everybody's pretty happy in there. And I think a lot of times when we see our, our people who are living with mental illness, or the family members, they're usually in a crisis mode. But our goal is to just at least create some sense of happiness within themselves. And we've been able to do that. It doesn't necessarily always look like this, but I think that is kind of the perception that people, get sometimes. Oh, they're just a really happy family, but almost every family has some relative or extended family member or somebody that is living with a mental health condition. And so we just point that out because our perceptions are not always what they seem. If you go to the next one, please. So compassion starts with ourselves, and we learn and we practice compassion by just being good to ourselves. If it doesn't really do any good to beat yourself up, maybe you made a mistake at work, or you did something, or something happened, we just have to practice forgiveness and just say, no, I'm going to do better next time. I've figured this out. I didn't know that. If somebody, you don't know what you don't know. So someone has to teach you that, or show you that, or you learn about it. And then we just try to keep a good, well-being through our mindset, staying positive. And I heard so many people today that are positive. You used words like hopeful, thankful, engaged, refreshed, grateful, dedicated, and optimistic, and all of those. That tells me you've got a good mindset going there at Monument Health with this group of individuals. Expressing our gratitude. And it doesn't have to be big things. It can be simple things. Right now I'm grateful that I was able to spend a week with my family up in North Dakota. Last year I didn't make any trips there because of COVID. I lost a lot of friends and relatives to it, and many of them in the community where I grew up on our reservation. So I was just really, really grateful and thankful I was able to see my family members and spend some quality time with them. And then just finding the right level of generosity. Sometimes we tend to be very generous with our time, our energy, and we forget about ourselves. And we have to practice being compassionate. Just don't forget about what you need. be mindful. Like I always try to, and they teach that in recovery, staying in the here and now. And that really helps me not to get so far ahead and keep overthinking something, because then the anxiety comes out. And just building and fostering strong human connections with one another, helping one another. So all of this will increase our happiness, will give us greater optimism, it'll reduce our stress. Um, we can take on more things personally when we're in a better frame of mind, and maybe do some more problem solving, and work to the good of the organization. And we certainly are going to be able to relate to one another in a very compassionate way, in a very positive way.
So once we're compassionate with ourselves, and we look at being compassionate with our patients, it gives us the ability to understand someone else's situation and a desire to take action to improve their lives. We do that by showing warmth and kindness. We want to listen to their story. We want them to know that we're hearing what they're saying, that we're validating their feelings, and listening with sincerity, that we're showing compassion and care, that we're showing that we really understand. We're through empathy, we're showing that we understand, and we're trying to walk that journey with them. And there's many different ways that we can do that, by acknowledging and showing interest. So then, Valerie, if we can move forward.
So being empathetic with our clients or people that we come in contact with just really relies a lot on empathetic listening. So it's almost, you have to fine tune your listening skills. Sometimes it's like, oh geez, I've heard this person's been in here many times, I'm hearing the same story. But sometimes you might hear something different, or maybe the family member's telling one version of a story and the client's telling another. But they're all different incidents, they're different times they're coming in. So we got to figure out a way to maybe put away some of our distractions, just whatever that might be, just for that time that we're interacting with that individual, and having some curiosity and as Kathy said, just caring for their story. One of the wellness things that we do is Story Stitch, and it's a great opportunity. We have a small group of people, but we use that Story Stitch as a way to support one another, and we tell stories and then we stitch off those stories, and it can be really funny. And some of the best times that helped me get through COVID is I did Story Stitch, and it was just good interaction with people in a positive way. And some of the stories were sad as well, but we learned to empathize and listen and really pay attention and get to know people on a different level, because everybody has a story. And we also recognize our own judgments and biases, because we do have them, all of us, even myself. That is just human nature. But when you recognize them, and then how they impact what we do in the workplace is so important. If you're not really sure if somebody's like, you heard them correctly, it's like sometimes, I thought I heard that, but I'm not really sure. Just kind of repeat, is the question, say, well, so you're telling me that you haven't been on your medication for, 3 weeks, and you can't afford the medication, or whatever it might be. You just want to make sure. It's okay to ask questions, and then we need to do that. And I'm sure you all do that anyway. But sometimes I always taught the people that I worked with in education. I had a lot of people that I oversaw with English as a second language. They were tutors, and I had lots of social workers and counselors and people I interacted with that I supervised. And my biggest thing that I always told them is, don't assume anything. I don't care if it's the same family, you've interacted with them, 5 times, don't assume anything. Get the facts, get the information, and you're going to make good decisions that way, and you're going to be able to better problem solve whatever it is, whatever challenges that they're experiencing. And again, we don't necessarily have to solve all their problems. We need to listen. We need to make good, sound decisions. do the best we can. And of course, obviously, if it's something that's an emergency or physical, thing that's going to impact the safety of the staff or, the patient themselves, that's different. But we're just trying to get in there and work to, the best way we can to come out, have a good outcome for them.
So as we start to close our presentation with you all today, we wanted to share some resources with you. The ones that NAMI has, we've got a NAMI.org Your Journey Frontline Professionals. That is a great web page that NAMI has created. NAMI has joined the First Responders First initiative to support frontline healthcare. And there's information and resources specific to your profession on that web page. And then we've got a blog web page, NAMI.org Your Story, where we're collecting stories and sharing those stories when we do our awareness and campaigns and major initiatives. We're actually collecting stories this summer called 605 Stories of Hope. And these are just stories from individuals that may be living with any type of a mental health challenge. And what their journey is living with that challenge and what they do to stay in recovery. And we're going to be sharing those stories at our virtual conference in September, just as a way to showcase that there's a lot of people out there challenged with a lot of different things going on and what they're doing to help themselves. Then we've got the 211 Helpline Center. That is just a plethora of resources, as you may be aware. And NAMI is in there, and we've got trained staff to help direct them to the appropriate hotlines. We Face It Together is an effective approach to addiction recovery. And then workplacementalhealth.org is a supportive workplace environment for employees and advanced mental health policies in their organizations. And then we've got NAMISouthDakota.org. We just recently refreshed that webpage, and it's very intuitive, and it leads you right to all of our education and support and advocacy resources, as well as we've got a rolling calendar as to all of our activities. And I want to encourage you as well to look at the NAMI South Dakota Facebook page. We have consistent wellness activities going on live Facebook on a regular basis. During May, Mental Health Awareness Month, we had, maybe like 6 or 8 different wellness events that were going on. And we're continuing that because we just keep getting these requests about wellness activities. I think that we've got a webinar scheduled for June 22nd on wellness in the workplace. And we've got another activity that's just recently got posted. Oprah and Prince Harry are going to be starting a docu-series on mental health and well-being. And there's going to be some high-profile people joining that docu-series. And it's going to be every Thursday evening starting June 17th. I'm sorry, not every Thursday evening. It's every other Thursday evening starting June 17th. So it goes through June, July, and August. And it's just a docu-series that just talks in general about mental health and our well-being and what we're doing to stay active and present, if you will. So those all are listed on our Facebook page, and I just encourage you to check that out because, like I said, we've got live events going on a regular basis. Marilyn talked about Story Stitch, which we do regularly. We also have meditation that we do. We do some art journaling as well. So
there we go.
Yeah, here's our information. That's my local information to get a hold of me. And like I said, I'm just down at the One Heart campus. We're also giving you our NAMI South Dakota email and phone number, as well as the 211 helpline. So we'd like to just open it up now to see if you have any questions or comments. you want to share with us?
Yes, if you could describe what Story Stitch is a little bit more.
Hey, Mallory. Oh, that's right. Mallory is not able to hear us or interact, but Mallory Kolchak is the one who kind of got that off the ground. But Story Stitch is kind of, we use these cards, and we start off, maybe it's, for example, one of the cards or the questions would be, share a time when you felt, you know, not part of a group. What it is, it's a conversational card game. And we have one person leading it, and we have people who are doing it virtually. And so then somebody will say, I can tell a story about that. And it's from your own personal experience. And then somebody will say, well, I'd like to stitch onto that, or I'd like a new question, or maybe somebody wants to pass. But it is so fun because we get to hear all kinds of great stories. And there's just tons of them. And sometimes we make up our own questions. And so it's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it's a way for us to connect with others, you know, because a lot of people are dealing with social isolation, and then they couldn't get out because of COVID, and they just needed support and to be able to engage with others. And so that was one way that we were able to do that throughout the pandemic and even now. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Are you guys doing any wellness kinds of, go ahead.
There's one more question. No, I don't know if you heard that. She said that she likes the checking in with coworkers and having compassion for our coworkers that you talked about. That's something we could do here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We can get you in touch with Mallory, and we can get something set up for you guys just for your own group. That would be great. One of the things that Vera Behavior Health did, they figured out a way just before the walk, our NAMI walk, they all got together. I believe it's I'm probably not saying their NAMI walk teams correctly, but it's the butterflies. And they just went around and they figured out ways to just small donations, and they were just challenging one another, and they did fun things and events that they hosted throughout as they got ready for, you know, our walk day. And they were the #1 walk team in the state for NAMI. So it was really cool. They had a lot of fun doing it. And they had one person, a team captain, that organized it and just kept them all going every week. They did special activities. So it was fun. Story Stitch would be great. You guys would love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely something we could try.
Okay. There's lots of other wellness things. I know we've done writing. Travis Jacobs did a lot of writing workshops that were virtual. They were great. We've done breathing exercises, teaching people how to breathe. Mallory can chat me up if I'm missing some. Gardening was one. Yoga, we did chair yoga. We've done that in Aberdeen. We've just done a lot of fun things because our whole focus is to help people get well and stay well. And we talk about it, not just people who are experiencing a mental health condition, but people who want to improve their mental health. See, so we always talk about our journey from illness, because all the time we talk about people who are ill, to wellness, because everybody can experience some aspect of wellness in their lives, despite what's going on with them. We can improve in that respect. And painting is another one. We did painting. Another one that we did, we use the 8 dimensions of wellness to actually drive some of the things that we want to do. We survey groups and they can decide. And one of them was financial wellness. Somebody said, you know what, I could really use, you know, a little more information about this. And so we presented a series of workshops on that too. So we have a lot of people out there that volunteer their time to prepare and do these things for us. It doesn't cost you anything. They're all free. It won't cost you anything. So.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you presenting to us with us.
And if you
Yeah,
want,
no, we appreciate your time.
and if you want to give some feedback, you can just send your emails to either Kathy or to Wendy at the 2 email addresses that we gave you. And just let us know if there's some more things that you need. We'll be happy to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Mallory, can you stay on, please?